Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of FitFam. As usual, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this is Doug, the Formulator.
And you can see with our background, we're a little different space this time. We're actually up in Park City, Utah. And
Not in the winter.
Not in the winter.
No.
Won't catch
Too
me
cold.
here probably.
No. Yeah.
But we are super blessed because we're at the Optimal Health Systems Inner Circle event. And what that is, it's where we take the top holistic practitioners from around the nation and the best of the best, and they come together and we have a mastermind group and we talk and we formulate and we enjoy each other's company and we go places and create experiences. And each one of them represents health professionals from their field at the highest level. And so even though we put this on, we actually come out of it usually with the most blessings and information and excitement to move on.
For sure.
And so what we decided to do is a little bit different.
It is different. We're going to hold FitFam here and take questions from all these cool doctors. So let's go.
So it's a what's up doc version, but multiple docs. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, I am Dr. Janine Ridgway, and I am very grateful. I'm not complaining, but I'm wondering, why is your Inner Circle Mastermind free when others charge, up to 100,000 and more for theirs?
It's a good question. Want me to take that one?
I do want you to take that one.
It's really interesting because we all are in probably multiple masterminds and that, usually at high levels of success. You put yourself around others quite often, and that's one of the cool things. But our mastermind's different because we wanted health professionals to feel like it was a place that they could come to get experiences and provide what they have done in their clinics, in their areas, that they can provide that information to the group and that we all feel that we are growing together. And so instead of charging for this group, each of these health professionals have goals within their clinic and will set challenges. And when they meet the challenges of being able to share with their patients certain information or be more holistic in their clinic, some of the challenges have been even to be out there more on social media, they qualify to come. And so probably the biggest reason that we don't charge for this, it's actually something you actually attain through challenges, is so that everyone that comes here knows it's for the purity of the mission to help people get better faster. And that's what it's about. So we're excited for it. Thank you.
Dr. Dan Silito. My question for you is, why did each of you choose the profession that you're in?
You want me to go?
Yeah. So probably talking, yeah. Why don't you give it a shot?
Okay, so I feel like I have a few different professions. I would say my number one profession is being a mother. And I chose that because innately my whole life, that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mom. And so that's my favorite calling, I would say. And then, and being your wife's pretty cool too.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
And then next, it's close. Next to that is bodybuilding, of course. And the reason I chose bodybuilding, going back to being very little, I loved watching Mr. Olympia on television. And I liked seeing a woman that looked very strong and powerful and yet was able to kind of hold her femininity in a way that was different than you would kind of imagine. And so, in my mind when I was young, it was just this beautiful, cool thing. I don't know that I ever really thought it was something I could do. And then thankfully I made the right choice in a partner and it was an option. And secondly, it was something that was mine. It was something that I could own for me. I had to do the work. So it was a way to kind of hold my own independence, I think, as well.
Which I think's critical for a marriage too, for each person to have their own thing along with it together.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it stronger.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Thanks.
Maybe I'll move up that a little bit.
Okay, maybe. We'll see.
For me, as far as the health profession field, to train health professionals and have optimal health systems, I think that for me, it came out of seeing what was missing, being in a situation personally and being treated by multiple doctors and seeing that there wasn't communication there. No one was really holistic. There wasn't one doctor that I had seen. I was in one of the top clinics in the planet from an injury, Barrows Neurological Clinic, but there wasn't one that took it on as okay, here's what's important with your mindset to really think about what's possible to heal your nutrition, your exercise, even prescriptions, whatever it was just all over the place. And I saw that. And then when I went to my holistic professionals, I noticed that they weren't very holistic either. They were doing things naturally, but only one thing. And at that moment in time, I remember the moment, the exact moment in time when I just had this surge in me and I feel I was being called. And it was this moment when, oh my gosh, my job is to share holistic principles with health professionals and systems so that they can truly treat patients with everything that's needed, but not take away from what they do best. And that really transformed into me doing that personally and working with the MBA and with patients and clients around. But really, I think the big mission is with health professionals, because every health professional can help thousands versus I can only, help so
Right.
many. And so we can really scale at a much higher level. But it was a personal calling because of a need that I saw in the industry, and that's what started it.
Well, can I add on a little bit to that?
Sure.
Thanks. You don't even know what I'm going to say.
No,
Are you nervous?
a little nervous.
No, I was going to say also, I feel like there are very few people that walk the walk and talk the talk. And I feel like with very few exceptions, you do. There's so many people that will give you health advice or diet advice or mindset advice, and just living with you, I can attest to how annoyingly positive you are with your mindset and how you live the diet. I mean, there's a few times that you'll have a little
Hot chocolate.
hot chocolate or something. But yeah, I just feel like you live it so much that it kind of has to be part of your calling, for sure.
Nice. One of the things that we tell the great doctors and the doctors that are here live at such a high level that inspires me is you want your patient to be able to say, if I do what you say, will I get what you got?
Yeah.
And I lose sleep over that at times because we have clients that I'll get off the phone with them and I'm like, holy cow, I hope they don't come spend a week with me because they're at a higher level. Like they train harder than they do. They eat healthier. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got so many levels I could go up. And so being happy in life, but not content, not satisfied, I think is the key. And so thanks for that question. Next.
Dr. Richard Tay, we have so many wonderful optimal health system products, but among them, what's your favorite?
Ooh.
Oh, it changes.
That
changes.
The answer is that it changes. I'm going to go with the Old Faithful. It's
Digestion?
called Digestamil.
Oh, sorry.
And the thing is Digestamil as a formula was created out of necessity. It was created because we chose to process our foods, cook our foods, and you take it when you eat cooked and processed foods, because really our bodies don't run on carbs, proteins, or fats. It runs on fatty acids, amino acids, and glucose. And if our body doesn't break down the food to those things, we get disease. First we get dis-ease, and then we get disease. And the number one thing you can do is to deliver nutrients to the cell, and then keep focusing on the type of foods you're bringing in. That's my top. I will give a little something away because I think this is going to be aired before it's out, but we just introduced to these doctors for the first time ever. They're the first ones ever to see it and hear it and put hands on it. Is we created another formula to fix the problem of all of these phthalates, plastics, chemicals in our foods, dyes, all of these things that are in the food, especially in America today. And so that's going to probably be right up there with the digestible. It's called Chemzyme when it comes out. And so those are probably my favorite.
Okay, I'm not gonna pick. I can't pick just one. I'm gonna go into a few. I would say right now top is OptiAdrenal, and that's because I had such a drastic
Well, tell about that because this
Well,
is
we've
Inner Circle.
yeah. Oh, well, I think everybody here probably knows it. We did a podcast on it not too long ago, but basically, it was right before the first Inner Circle, my favorite trip of all time, Disneyland, and I think it was the day before I woke up, and we were, trying to get ready to go, and I got out of bed and I couldn't walk. My back, I was like, oh, I threw my back out, and so I'm, you know. Doug's always focus on the positive. And I'm like limping across the bed going, how am I supposed to focus on I can't walk. And so, but I couldn't think of anything that I had done to actually throw out my back. And then sure enough, Doug met up with, how do you say it? Dr. Gustafson at the airport. And he was like, Doug, it's not her back. She's blown out her adrenals. And at first when Doug called me, I was just like, it's not that. It's
There was a few other words with that one.
and so sure enough, I started taking the adrenal and it was miraculous. It was truly miraculous, I feel like. And so it's definitely the one that I always push for people to get on if they start having symptoms that I was experiencing. So that one, and then I would probably say I'm really loving glutathione right now. I love glutathione.
And we made a change in that recently. We had the world's first oral glutathione that could be absorbed, but when you look at the pathway, if you combine electrolytes, organic electrolytes with it, it enhances it so much more. And so now the glutathione is with the organic minerals, and it is phenomenal for so many things.
And
especially if you're fasting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I just love it when I get on the treadmill. I feel a massive difference when I've kind of grabbed that and gone than not. So yeah, love that one.
And for all your old schoolers, we worked hard to have it taste like Tank. So if you know what that is,
You worked hard for you because you like that flavor.
that's true.
That's so funny.
Thanks for that question.
Okay, yes, this question is for Hilary. So-
Who are you?
This is
But
the
you gotta say who you are.
I'm sorry, Jerry Kier with Complete Nutrition Alliance, and the number one principle that would apply to, say, reaching Miss Olympian or reaching the level of having a very successful clinic, what would be the factor there?
One that applies across the board.
Across the board.
Okay, so for myself and my career, I think there's a few different answers that compound, but I would say, sorry, I think I'm probably gonna give two. I would say the first one is learning to be okay in uncomfortable moments, or feeling the fear and doing it anyways. I would say that was a massive change for me because habitually I had become somebody that doesn't like to be put in situations where I can't control them, or or people that I don't know, or
An unknown.
or an unknown would make me really, really fearful and almost oddly like lash out. It just made me wildly uncomfortable. And then the more we put me in those positions, just the better life got. It just kept opening up. And so I think that statement that people make, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear, is really true. I think that's super, super true. And then I think the other one I would say is hard conversations with everyone, including and especially with yourself. I've had to have one with myself recently. And, I think really asking yourself if you're following through on the goals that you've set for yourself, or if you're giving yourself a way out, or a cop out, and just having real conversations with yourself. So I would say that's what I would say.
I like that answer too. I think that it's funny with Hilary is when she first decided to compete, she had the package. We knew that genetically she could do it if the training was right and everything. And as she was getting ready for her first show, I could tell what was missing was the fear. The fear was going to stop her from being able to succeed at the highest level, because in our sport, The thing that really is the most detrimental to an athlete, a bodybuilder, is the day of the event. You could have everything perfect. You could train all year long, and if they are fearful and stressed, their body will release cortisol, and all of a sudden they'll get flat. They'll get edema, swelling, right before stage, and so all the hard work goes out the door. And knowing that, we had to break that fear. And so understand, right? She's wearing this figure outfit, like bikini. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, what can I do to help break the fear when she's on stage? And I don't know how many hundreds of people are going to be in the audience. And so my brother at the time was a bishop in their church. So I invited him and his wife over
This was mortifying.
and said, come over. I want you to see my wife's routine before she gets. So Hilary performed her routine in front of my brother and his wife, the bishop, and that, 5 feet away by the fireplace. And she, I paid for it for a few days, obviously.
That was mortifying.
but she did it. And then to be able to do it on stage was that much easier. She got through the fear ahead of time, right? And then she had a mentor, someone that I looked up to big time too, was the world's greatest competitor in her division and lived out in California. And so I got a hold of her and scheduled a posing session with her, and then told Hilary, you have a posing session with this Miss Olympia in California. And it just,
he thought I was going to be so excited. And I'm like, well, you call and cancel it right now. I am not about to go. There's no way I'm going to, knowing that I don't know how to pose and knowing that my physique's not near hers, there's no way I'm going. And it was a long conversation, but we ended up going, and it was phenomenal. It was really cool.
So it's great. She's lived what she's saying, is getting past that fear. And I think that's huge for me. As the doctors here know, it's getting around those that have achieved what you want to achieve. That's me, number one principle. That's when I've seen the greatest athletes, when I see the greatest people successful in business, when I see them like you all, your clinics, you choose to come and be in rooms like this, when they see the greatest even marriages and that, they go and they hang around with or seek out people that have those great blessings and benefits, and they learn from them and take it from there. So it's a great question.
Am I supposed to?
I got you.
Pagal, the question is, what is your number one nutrition principle?
Ooh.
Oh, I didn't read that. Oh, number one, nutrition. You go first.
I think it's changed a little bit over the decades, but number one nutrition principle for me is to eat foods that are whole foods with the least amount of chemicals and the least processing. Like that's it. If you did nothing else but sought out the best whole foods, I'm talking about things that are like single 1 or 2 ingredient foods, right? A sweet potato type thing, or a sweet potato combined with something else that is a whole food. Then that's the number one nutrition principle. It really is seeking out those foods. And the second to that would be ensure that food's digested so the nutrients can be delivered. Back to the supplement type thing, digestive meal. But for me, it is, especially nowadays, is we really need to be cognizant that our foods are adulterated, and we need to seek out whole foods as much as we can.
Yeah. I'll jump on that one.
You like that one?
Yep. Good job. Super.
All right. Open up. Any other questions, doctors? And the mic will come to you. Dr. Janine again. Awesome.
This is for Hilary. To piggyback on the question you just answered, I know that you're always big on making your food taste good. And so you'll have little tricks, to have something that's healthy, but also make it taste good. So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I would say, okay, I'm going to say a few things. Doug's probably not going to love everything I have to say right now. One, I would say, put your big boy pants on. And I have a hard time when a grown adult tells me I don't like vegetables. Well, you're going to need to start eating vegetables. So first of all, I would say introduce maybe a vegetable that you don't hate and then work from there. So first I would say that, but then I would also say if you absolutely hate a certain vegetable, then don't eat that vegetable. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like if you know no matter what, you're not going to like it, you're never going to make it taste the way you want to. So those kind of contradict each other. But and so to make things taste better, typically I will cook my food without oil, most of my food. And the reason I do that is because I want to add back the flavor that I want to taste, if that makes sense. So when I'm air frying my sweet potatoes, I just put them in there without oil and I watch them and I season them the way I want. And then if maybe I want to flavor them a certain way, then I can use some type of dressing that I made that might have a little bit more fat in it. But it's a better fat because I haven't cooked it. And
What
so
are some of the flavorings you use?
some of the flavorings. Well,
Spices.
I love dry seasonings, and there's so many great dry seasonings you can do. Right now, I use a lot of feast mode seasonings, but there's just a full array. And then I like to use a lot of different sauces, and the goal is to just use sauces that don't have sugar or high fructose corn syrup. So and you can find barbecue sauces that are sweetened with monk fruit. You can find ketchups that have no sugar in them. That are sweetened with honey sometimes. And so I try to take out the fat so that I can add back the fat the way that I want to taste it, if that makes sense. And then because I like sweet things, I use a lot of stevia. I use a lot of banana to sweeten certain things. And then to kind of replace butter in a lot of things, I salt even sweet things because it kind of replaces the rich saltiness that you're looking for from butter. So like the pancake that I make that's just egg whites and oats and banana, when I'm cooking it, I'll sprinkle salt on it and it just kind of adds that depth to it. So,
Well, that's great. I think Hilary says to put your big boy pants on. I like that. I tell people that you really need to look at nutrition as you need to look at it to eat to live and don't be someone that lives to eat. And most of the time, especially in America, we live to eat, right? It's cultural. We do it. That's what we do when we go out and all that. When we need to be eating to live. And to go back to Steve Jobs, it was like, look, if you don't look to make food your medicine, if you don't look at whole foods and make food your medicine, someday, right, medicine will be your food. And just so true when it comes to that, and that we need to be able to look at food as the number one thing that affects our health at a cellular level, second to the mindset, and live to eat. And as we do that, you'll start looking for how can I make that healthier?
yeah, and I think looking at the foods that you love, like French fries, for example. If you love French fries, then figure out a way to eat a potato that's close to a French fry, but is much, much healthier. So cut it like a French fry, put it in an air fryer, season it the way you want it seasoned, and eat it that way, make it crispy. So create the foods that you love that are unhealthy and just try to make them as healthy as possible.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know how both of you start your day before you go to work.
Oh,
Cool.
great question.
Doug, so I start my day with a run on the treadmill and I do fasted cardio. So usually when the alarm goes off, we both take Be Awake. And then we snuggle and then we get up when we're on fire.
So the thing is that I'm really big on the very first thing you should do is hydrate. Really big on that. And so if when you wake up, for us, we take the Be Awake because that niacin will hit in about 10, 15 minutes. So then we can still sit there, think about the day, just be present. All of a sudden it hits, you're going to get up. So then you get up, and that is kind of cool, first thing. But then you do your treadmill and that.
Okay, I'm going to go back to right when we wake up. Now you've got me really thinking. So actually, the first thing that I typically hear when we wake up is Doug will hug me and he'll say, "I'm so lucky." And so it's going to make me emotional. But that's the first thing that I typically hear when I wake up, which is really good for someone like me who has to work through negative a lot. So that is the first thing. And then we take Be Awake, and then we're not too long after that, we're on fire and going. And then Doug starts his day with a complete nutrition every single day. Now, if we're on the road, that changes, but every single day at home, Doug starts with a complete nutrition. Typically I make it. If I head out to the gym before he's ready, then it's the one and only meal he'll make for himself. And then you're welcome. And then I take carnitine and I head out to the treadmill.
And so I think, and it's really big to plan your day, or your day will plan you. And so in the mornings, I think, putting our 3 tasks, our leadership team, we decide on what are the 3 things we're going to do that day that's going to move the needle. Not the 3 things that are on the list that got to get done, the fires to get put out, any of that stuff. What 3 things are we going to do today that at the end of the day, we've moved closer to our goal? And, doing that, especially with a company our size, is so critical. And in your clinics, so important, because you get caught up in the day-to-day of putting out fires and different issues coming up with patients and staff. But what are the 3 things that you're going to get accomplished that day that's going to move you closer to your future self? And I think that's just something that is a great principle that I learned from some of my original mentors, the owner of the Phoenix Suns, and a few of these people that had multiple large businesses. And they said they just get caught up in the day-to-day if they don't make sure they accomplish 2 to 3 things each day that moves that needle forward.
Okay, have a question about fitness and working out. Okay, you two are amazing. You've got your workouts all dialed in. People see this, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna work out. They work out so hard and then they can't move the next day. So what would be realistic for the general populace that's not on stage to be working out? And if they overwork out, how can they get out of bed the next day without crying?
So I would say first, start out slow and do the things that consistently you can do, and be honest with yourself. If we hear that all of the time with a lot of clients is no, I'm ready. I'm going to do it. An hour a day, I'm going in, I'm going to be in the gym. And yeah, for a week they do it and then they peter out. Yeah. And so do what you'll do. If it's 15 minutes, 3 days a week, start with that and be happy with that. If it's 15 minutes, 3 days a week, and you're outside walking, and start with that. And once you can trust yourself to do that, then add a little bit more. I would also say Muscle RX helps immensely with soreness, and also baking soda, which is like my new favorite. So,
So sodium bicarbonate is what is baking soda. And that's why we put it in so many of the formulas, like the chews and things like that. There's some great new research on it. As far as recovery, I'm a big fan of the Natural NSAID pack.
Mm-hmm.
We just hiked the Grand Canyon, and without the Natural NSAID pack, I probably wouldn't be here today.
You're doing great, by the way.
By the way. And so I think that the key with the recovery is getting blood flow and digesting those proteins that are in the blood that is probably muscle breakdown, right? And that's why we're really big on the Natural NSAID pack, which is a pack of vitamins that has a lot of proteolytic enzymes. So proteolytic enzymes is the key, I think, the number one thing people could do to help with soreness in the body. But the answer to everyone that we speak to about fitness goes along the same lines as Hilary. And for me, it's what would your future self say to you today? And if your future self is someone that works out for an hour a day, which we all should do, at whatever that hour is, that truly should be in your routine, looking back, what would they say to do today? And usually, if you're really being honest about 3 years from now, your future self, this phenomenal shape that works out every day, at least an hour and a half every day, that you found the time, you realize it actually creates more time, which is the truth of it. They would tell you to say, what can you do today that you can absolutely say to yourself, I'll never stop that. And it might be 5 minutes a day. You sit down and you do push-ups as many as you can, off your knees, off your toes, and do standing squats. And then that will move on until eventually, maybe it is that you get to a gym 3 or 4 times a week, and it's a time factor. It's a commitment to time is the answer. And whatever you do in that time is the key. So our schedule, obviously with Hilary, is very strict. We know what she's going to work out on what day, right? Sets, reps, everything. But for example, like when we came back from the Grand Canyon, it was leg day. Well, they're, not going to happen. But we had that time. So we still spent that time and did a different workout. But the time was set and it's non-negotiable. So if you can give yourself 5 minutes a day non-negotiable, then that's what it is. And it will work up. One last thing with it, we'll close, is my boss at the Phoenix Suns, Jerry Colangelo, I challenged him to work out every day and to give me an hour a day. And he says he didn't have time. And I promised him that he would gain at least that much time back if he worked out. And we made a deal that I was actually going to work for free for that season if he didn't gain that much more time, that hour a day of working out. And at that time in my life, it would have just been, that was my only income. So I was like, okay. And he had 3 executive assistants, and they tracked and they played a joke on me. It was 4 or 5 months, I don't know the amount of time. And he called me in, and his main assistant, she's like, hey, Jerry did not increase his productivity an hour a day. Just so you know, you need to go in and meet with him. And I go in there. So I'm thinking I'm going to work for free. And after he made me sweat, he's like, oh, I actually have 3 times the productivity now. And so it was really neat to see that in action of someone that's that busy. So for everyone thinks they're too busy, the fact is the added focus in your mind, the time that you had spent not being 100% present, you gain that back from the exercise because of the chemical release of dopamine, serotonin, the balance and everything. So we challenge everyone, have a non-negotiable time, and you'll see that over time that will increase to a point that is right for you. It won't be, I don't train at the level Hilary does, the amount of time she does every day. I have my time, that non-negotiable time, and it works. So thanks, everyone. We're blessed to be able to be here, the Inner Circle, the top holistic professionals around the nation. If you have questions or want to meet with any of them, let us know where you live, and we'll point you to the right place. You definitely want to have a true holistic health professional on your team so that they can help you reach optimal health. So as always, this is Miss Natural Olympia Hilary.
And this is Doug the Formulator.
Keep chewing.
See ya.